Anurag Agrawal of TechIsle, who's going to be presenting some of the first ever information about how SaaS vendors in the channel are missing out on great sales opportunities based upon what the SMBs are adopting and using in the SaaS sector. Really great information. I couldn't be more pleased to be able to host Anurag here today and share with you the information he's presenting. So just as a brief overview, for those of you who may not have known what SaaS Next is before you got here, it's right now we're the SaaS marketplace for the channel, and our goal is to accelerate sales transactions between SaaS providers as well as SaaS resellers. And we do that by providing a marketplace platform that not only contains the information about the products, but also about reseller programs, by doing proactive quality matchmaking between the vendors and resellers, by offering education and awareness, just like we're doing here today, both on industry and industry trends, as well as through about the different SaaS applications that are coming on. And also by providing SaaS channel consulting. We find that quite a few of you SaaS vendors who join are not necessarily aware of traditional ways of pulling together reseller programs that are incentivizing to resellers. And so we're here to help you do that as well in a world-class way. And then we also provide to the SaaS vendors a partner management portal for those of you who don't have your own already established. It helps you to track registration of resellers and to provide them with information and to accept your registration, etc. And then also we have our WASAS blog, which is a growing blog of industry information that would be really good for you to check out. Future, we're going toward being a distributor, the leading distributor for SaaS sector in general, specifically cloud-based line of business and IT solutions. Again, to just not surround you with SaaS Max, just for those of you who are resellers who are on here, which I know is quite a few of you, we make it free for you to join, and you get discounted price plans, you get special commissions and incentives. We match you up every month with a few different things that we think are going to be valuable in your line of business so that you can increase your business and be relevant to your clients, and we just continue to provide you with education. We've had probably about 25 SaaS vendors join in the past 7 weeks, and so seeing tipping point, and I'm very excited to be able to see the growth that we're seeing and expect that 2015 is going to be a great opportunity for all of you who are involved in our ecosystem. So without further ado, here is Anurag Agrawal. He is the CEO and founder and analyst at TechIsle, which used to be referred to as SMB Guru. And to sum him up, he's got over 25 years of research analysis in the industry. And he does focus specifically on the SMB market, that's the small and medium business market, and channel partners as a segment. And he does write and advise IT vendors on cloud computing, routes to market, emerging technologies, mobility, big data, and industry and channel dynamics. So everything he's providing herein is just ideal for us as part of the SaaS Next community. He did previously have Gartner's worldwide research operations, and he really, he began his career at IDC, and just, his list of experience and expertise goes on and on. So Anurag, welcome very much to the SaaS Next webinar, and please feel free to go forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dina. So once again, on behalf of SaaS Max and TechIsle, I thank you very much for being with us here today. So before we begin, I wanted to quickly talk about what is TechIsle as an organization. I mean, Dina touched on it. Obviously, we are a global SMB and channel partner IT market research and analyst organization. And our intelligence is built from the ground up. We conduct thousands of surveys each year with the SMBs and the channel partners that actually serve that SMB community. So we actually carefully select those channel partners who are selling to the small and mid-market businesses. Our coverage area expands 12 different topics, ranging from cloud to endpoint devices, from security to file sharing collaboration. And each of these areas we put out our intelligence based on the research that we conduct across 20 different countries. In terms of the number of services that we offer, essentially we work with all the leading IT companies. We offer, consulting services. We offer syndicated research reports. We have segmentation, predictive analytics, and there are 3 or 4 different types of engagement practices that we work with the IT companies. So with that brief introduction about TechEye, let's dive into the agenda for today's call. So there are 4 facts that we will try and discuss today. And before I begin, I want to really mention the fact that all data that is presented in the slide has been taken from our own TechEye SMB Cloud Computing Study and corresponding TechEye SMB Channel Partner Study. Then this Channel Partner Study covers cloud, mobility, converged infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So our agenda today is to discuss 4 different facts. 1, SaaS is growing rapidly and is on its way to becoming the dominant software acquisition model for the SMBs. Number 2 is the spread of SaaS to different functional areas is accelerating, which means that an SMB gets into SaaS through acquisition of one SaaS application, but quickly realizes the benefits of it and starts to move to the adjacent areas, and we will discuss what those adjacent areas are. And obviously, when the increase of SaaS adoption takes place, that means the acceleration takes place, there are certain complications that arise, and we will try and touch upon those complications as well, so which you should be aware of and actually take advantage of. Finally, we will also showcase that the channels and what they are offering in terms of SaaS applications and the SMBs, what they really need in terms of SaaS applications, are not always in sync, which creates new levels of disintermediation between the channels, the IT vendors, and the SMBs. So, what we should do is let's really move on to the next slide, where we start to talk about the top 5 SMB business issues. So the idea is that before we really dive down into the factors that are driving SaaS adoption, let's understand what are the germane SMB business issues are. Right off the bat, we notice that although cost is not an important issue, it is not cost is an important business issue, but it is not the top business issue. It is growth. It is growth which manifests itself in many different forms, such as attracting and retaining new customers, increasing business growth, keeping pace with competition, focusing on new markets, etc., etc. The SMB focus on growth obviously leads directly to requirements for improvements in sales, in marketing, and we can all agree that in today's market, these improvements are generally delivered in the form of CRM systems that improve sales process efficiency and visibility, and social marketing systems that capitalize on connectedness with an economy that increasingly relies on person-to-person, cloud-enabled communications rather than broadcast and print media for information. And we all know now, and we are seeing that cloud is helping SMB in addressing most of their top business issues. So we thought we should show you what's happening between the CapEx expenditure within the SMBs and the OpEx expenditure. The data on this chart shows that barring 14% of SMBs, which is the second last column, or 86% of SMBs OpEx is growing. And in 21% of SMBs, it is growing much faster than CapEx. So let us put this into context. We all talk about CapEx and and sorry, OpEx and CapEx, etc. So that's why we thought let's just talk about it. There are few absolute certainties in technology, but one subject that is beyond debate is the fact that cloud has permanently changed the ways in which IT is deployed and consumed within SMBs. A key constraint on new systems was the infrastructure cost. And to support new systems, businesses needed to purchase new products, and these acquisitions entail detailed cost-benefit analysis, and we are always subject to available CapEx budget. A key constraint was also, on introducing new automation for business processes was the development queue. IT was always, and it still is, stressed in many different directions, and much of its time and budget is still being consumed with maintaining existing systems. However, today, an increasing proportion of infrastructure is rented rather than purchased. Those with OpEx funds from remote suppliers, agility has become the watchword for new automation projects, whether it be task automation projects or there would be business process automation projects. And workers are really tethered to the corporate infrastructure by the smartphones and tablets, not by the cables attached to the desk. And most of these changes are attributable to, in part or in whole, to cloud computing. So cloud infrastructure really provides the basis for OpEx-based, flexible time frame rental. And SaaS providers are able to deploy new automation in hours rather than months. So what we are trying to say in this was the fact that cloud is really driving the OpEx growth as well. So we asked SMBs, what according to you is the outlook for your business for the next few years, and what is your opinion of the overall current developments in IT technologies with reference to your business? Almost all rated both the questions as 5 or higher, meaning that they feel really positive. When SMBs feel positive about their business and also about the role of IT in their business, it can only mean one thing: increase investments in IT solutions that help them meet their business objectives. So what we are saying is now is the best time for channel companies and the channels and the IT companies to really target this SMB market. So we also asked SMBs as to which of the emerging technology areas where they are investing in actually contribute to the growth of the business and which help in reducing costs. Almost all except business intelligence, managed services, and big data contribute to business growth. So this is important because cloud, which IT suppliers often position as a means of reducing costs, is viewed by 80% of respondents. And this data is based on nearly 1,500 respondents here. So it is absolutely statistically valid across the country. Is viewed by 80% of respondents as a solution that contributes to business growth. So remember, for the longest time, we have talked about cloud as an area with reducing CapEx. Well, that still holds true, but link it back to the SMB objectives. Cloud helps them achieve the shortest path to their full potential. So what does this mean? Change the conversation from saving costs to saving costs and grow the business. And these solutions are viewed as business builders, not means of reducing costs. It implies that you can confidently expand your marketing dialogue beyond the cost and CapEx versus OpEx discussion to cloud adoption to really focus on the ways in which cloud-based solutions enable new business growth. So now let's really get down to the meat of the SaaS application adoption. So this chart really describes the overall current and planned SaaS application adoption within the SMB community. So if you think, logically, it is easy to understand that if agility and growth are the top business issues, and also the reasons for using cloud, then the applications themselves are driven towards sales process, sales revenue, and process optimization. Right? We asked the respondents to identify whether they were using or plan to use one or more of the following types of solutions, ranging from high-level marketing solutions, sales systems, business operations, IT operations, customer service, financial operations, and HR, which are the kind of the 7 big buckets. The data shows an average of 30% of respondents are currently using each of these solution categories, and 30% indicating that there is an average of 2.1 solutions in use per respondent business. In many ways, if we drill down, we found that the data regarding future adoption intentions to be more revealing. We see tremendous future interest in marketing systems, sales systems, and solutions that support business operations. And the average future adoption intention across the 7 categories is 40% or higher. We at TechHive believe that the data makes clear the fact that the availability of cloud-based business solutions will drive tremendous growth in automation across these 7 functions. And when we further consider that each solution area can and usually does incorporate multiple applications, and that some cloud applications are outside of these 7 areas, we see that both the scope and depth of cloud SaaS workloads is increasing dramatically. Another important point to note here is that marketing, sales, business operations are really driven by those who are responsible for revenue. And those who are responsible for revenue are living in a hyper-competitive world, and sometimes cannot wait for IT to decide and implement. Cloud becomes the perfect fall for them because they can experiment, decide, and implement. Also, one of the other important points in this slide is that vertical application is pretty much there across all different respondent categories. And we will see that. We'll talk about it in a little bit more detail in the subsequent slide. So what we did here was we took those 7 categories, we expanded them to 16 different areas, and we bucketed them slightly differently here. So there is a set of industry-specific applications, there are marketing-related applications, then there is CRM, which kind of stands alone, financial operations, HR, and customer service, and then there are foundational apps. Foundational apps such as collaboration. Essentially, they are horizontal applications. Office suites, web video conferencing, hosted VoIP, BI. BI also is a foundational app because it's able to provide that one holistic view of the SMB and enterprise. So we really wanted to kind of drill down to understand what specific applications are in use and in the plans for use within the SMB organization within the next 1 year or so. So as I said, the survey really asks all the cloud users to identify current and planned cloud adoption using a list of 16 different possible applications to elicit a really rich, detailed perspective on SaaS usage and trends. We are obviously still showing the data that relates to SaaS. We have got a lot more information that relates to infrastructure as well, such as server and hosted databases, et cetera. So there are different scenarios that we are presenting here. For example, the full market adoption scenario assumes that all SMBs that are saying that they plan to adopt will do so. And you know and we know that it is usually not the case. But we are seeing that in cloud adoption that actually it is becoming more of the case than an exception. The gradual adoption scenario takes a different approach. We assume that current cloud users will adopt each technology according to current plans, while new cloud users will adopt each of these application areas at the current usage rate. So what it is showing is that it is worth noting in that in some cases, CRM, which is the green bar in the center, BI analytics, which I said is the last line, customer service. The large gap between current and projected presence indicates much higher than SaaS average growth within the category, while in others like Office Suite, accounting, conferencing, growth rates are more modest, especially if they are calculated over multiple years. Now, some may ask that why Office Suite is the growth rate less moderate. Is not because of the fact that Office 365 is not doing well or something else, but there are so many different free versions that are still available, and there are not many paid usages that are actually going on. But whichever area that you are focusing, you should be able to look at this chart and say, how should I continue to invest in these areas? How do I increase my target SMB customer base?
Right, and Anurag, I wanted to just add to this slide. I think it's a really great slide here, and from real experience here in SaaSnext, we do get inquiries from resellers specifically based upon vertical applications. If you have something that's specifically for the legal sector, they want to know about it. It's for retail and hospitality, they want to know. For real estate, they want to know manufacturing. And so while you may have something that's more vertical, like financial operations or HR or foundational, I think it's important to consider emphasizing which target markets, which verticals that your application has a sweet spot in, and to emphasize those case studies so that the resellers can genuinely associate your application with those verticals, because one is to identify the right solutions for their clients, but then number two is to bring those solutions to their clients with the credibility that your application is actually going to fit into their line of business in the best possible way. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
Dina, I am so glad you brought that up. I couldn't agree more. I mean, we have been tracking this market at TechIsle since 2008, and every year we see that the vertical application needs is the highest. It's always the highest, and that's where the IT companies or the channel partners really need to emphasize. They need to come together and really offer some kind of a vertical application to their SMB customer.
Agreed.
Yeah. So this chart presents a fascinating story. So we looked at the data in many different ways. We said, what is a typical buyer journey of an SMB organization in terms of SaaS application? And we found, we looked at the data in 2013, we looked at it in 2012, in 2011, and we looked at it in 2014 as well. And we are currently in the field to know what's going to be happening in 2015. And we find that SMBs use any SaaS entry point and navigate to adjacent solutions. And that entry point is based on the internal pain point that they are experiencing. But what we are seeing now, that from 2015 onwards, it's not only going to be based on an internal pain point, but also based on an external pain point. That it's not only enough to say, hey, something is broken down, I'm not having enough communication with my employees, or I really need to have a centralized database system, or I need to have a better outreach campaign with my customers, et cetera, but it's more driven by what the competition is doing, more driven by how do I enter new markets, and so on and so forth. So there are external pain points which are also coming into the fore. No matter what, SMB use any SaaS entry point and navigate to adjacent solutions. And we analyze the extent to which intended use of each application is connected with that other applications captured in the study. So, for example, if you look at two different big clusters, right? There's CRM on the one side, and then there's ERP on the other side. Then we found that SMB is using or planning to use both CRM and ERP have some very common characteristics. In each case, SMB buyers are looking to deploy vertical applications, and this is what Dina just talked about. BI, project management, and other solutions, that is those planning to use CRM, are also likely to adopt ERP, and those planning to use ERP are also adopters of CRM. This illustrates really the importance of the types of suites that leading vendors like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft have assembled over the last couple of years. And buyers are consistently looking for a combination of capabilities, and we likely look as well for integration across these applications. Remember, integration is going to be extremely important. It is already important. Not many channel partners, not IT companies are really offering that. And the CRM side of this equation shows that marketing automation is an important attached application for CRM, which also highlights the importance of other investments that Oracle and Salesforce and everybody else is making. And TechAisle believes that actually this data also illustrates the really go-to-market challenge that is faced by the SaaS suppliers. Because SMB buyers will certainly shop for individual applications to satisfy their immediate pain points, but will also look to cluster these applications into broader systems that integrate multiple requirements. So going forward, we expect the SaaS suppliers to really start to address some of these issues in one of these three different ways, either through acquisitions, that is enabling core solution providers to add on these needed extensions, through alliances, linking one SaaS supplier with another one with complementary applications, or adherence to some standard of integration between individual applications. And we see that more and more of the SaaS applications are coming out with their own API that are able to connect with one application or the other. So,
and just to add there as well, for the SaaS vendors who are here, the channel resellers are looking for any assistance, any credibility, and any synergistic applications to make it so that their sale to a client is easier and more trusted and accepted. So these are really important points.
Yep. So so now the interesting piece of this SaaS analysis concerns the overall growth in SaaS application usage, right? We hear, somebody's using one application, somebody's using 100 applications. So we said that let's look at the final piece of the SaaS analysis and the extent to which increased adoption really translates into new revenue for SaaS suppliers. So there are obviously reasonable buy-side arguments for both paid and free applications. So what we are looking at this chart right now is how many applications are being currently used, how many of the application categories the SMBs are really planning to add. So we all know that the SMB buyers use both free applications and paid applications. And we know that the paid argument is the fact that, hey, purchased software is more likely to deliver regular upgrades, patches, support, while the free is, hey, it's centered on the reduction in the cost of new automation. Let me try it, like the most often used word, the freemium model. So what we did was we had to do a really deep dive to really provide some kind of a substantial insight into the number of cloud application categories that are really being used by the SMB. So to put it into perspective, small businesses are currently using an average of 5 categories of cloud applications. In some cases, those 5 categories could be just 5 applications. In some cases, it could be 6 applications. While the mid-market business, we define as 100 employees to 999 employees, and the small business is 1 employee to 99 employees. So we see that the mid-market businesses are reporting use of about 12 different application categories. So although mid-market businesses are using slightly more than twice as many application categories as a smaller organization, what we are finding, and consistently over the last 2 years, we are finding that small businesses report a higher ratio of paid applications. So, and when we also looked at the planned additions, we see that both groups, that means both the small business and the mid-market businesses, intend to add about 7 to 8 new cloud application categories in the next 12 months. Assuming that the current ratio of paid to total application continues to hold, we would expect that this would translate into something like 4 new paid applications within the small business group and about 3 to 5 new paid subscriptions within the mid-market community. And we believe that this is a very important finding for the SaaS suppliers. Because while there is clearly a point where the number of applications being purchased increases, there is also no real evidence that mid-market accounts will be substantially more lucrative than small business. So this actually implies that a successful go-to-market strategy will actually revolve around building reach and awareness and not around investing disproportionately in penetration within the larger SMBs. So here we come to a point where you say, let's look at what the SMBs need and what the channel partners are really offering. And we start to see that do exist tremendous disconnects between channel offering. All of the disconnects are coming down, but there do exist disconnects between channel offerings and SMB requirements. And filling that gap will accelerate cloud adoption and will also accelerate your recurring revenue management. So the way to read this graph is the red bars indicate that more SMBs are asking for these solutions than channel partners are offering them. And the green bars is vice versa. That means there are more channel partners offering than the SMB is asking. So there is kind of a demand-supply gap here, if you will. So for good measure, good understanding, we thought let us bring in 2012 and 2014 comparison. It tells us another fascinating story. Needless to say, vertical applications still stand out as the solution needed by SMBs the most, but least offered by the channel partners that serve the SMB community. The gap is coming down, it is narrowing. It was little over 24% in 2012, now it is 15% in 2014. So it is moving in the right trajectory. Business intelligence, as we talked about earlier, is becoming a key issue, right? And there are not enough channel partners who are really offering business intelligence. And that is because offering business intelligence will open up new service-related data integration, custom development opportunities as well. But let us look at CRM. In 2012, there were more channels offering it than SMBs needing it. Now it has changed. And it is not only a simple resale of CRM solutions, but a little bit of customization and data integration. And CRM has changed the flip-flop because let us link it back to the business issues that are there, right? Which talks about how do I improve my sales marketing, how do I gain more customers and all that. And CRM is a perfect application for that area. And anything associated around the CRM becomes a pretty interesting ecosystem. Now, collaboration is also an important area. Cloud security is another area. Business intelligence I've already talked about. So what I'm saying is that if you look at 2012, 2014, we are seeing the same trend. The channel offerings and SMB demands are not yet aligned because from our vantage point, when we look at hundreds and thousands of data points, not only in the U.S., but across different countries, we continue to see that in some cases, the channels take an easy way out to kind of tiptoe to the cloud by providing, hosted backup disaster recovery or hosted databases and things like that. But I think one needs to really focus attention on the application solutions that directly address the pain points of an SMB organization. So we talked about some complications with using SaaS applications. Data integration is a key problem area. As the number of applications continue to increase, data integration becomes a problem. The other problem is interface experiences, but let's keep that out of the scope of this conversation today. In most cases, when SMBs start to use the SaaS application, it becomes important for them to link at the application level to move data from one to the other, from one context to the other. And what we are finding is that offering data integration is becoming non-optional for the channel partner, even to some extent for the various IT companies. So in this chart, what we are saying is that three different groups of channel partners. Those who are very successful in the cloud, that means they have been making money over the last few years, they are profitable. And the second group is the group that has just become successful. That means, hey, we have just started to turn a profit. And the third one, you may call them an unsuccessful or laggard. They have not yet turned a profit, but they're still working on. So right off the bat, you start to see that 63% of the very successful ones are offering data integration, right? Because recurring revenue is also not the sole indicator of success. It is good, you have to manage it, but it has to be some level of services associated with it, and data integration creates that level of stickiness as well. And we are also seeing that those who have just become successful are saying, hey, we need to be able to do this. And they are recognizing the opportunity, and at least 48% of them are saying, hey, we are going to offer data integration across your cloud-based applications, across your cloud and on-premise applications. And that becomes a very, very powerful opportunity. So what I'm saying is that as the number of cloud applications used by SMBs continue to increase, the need to connect data from different sources will become more acute. Front office applications will require a single view of the customer, lead, sales, service, regardless of whether the data is sourced from cloud or on-prem system. And this logic will also apply to certain other areas such as accounting, billing, fulfillment, and many other different corporate functions.
Right. And Anurag, I think it's important to stress here, especially for the SaaS vendors, that there should be some understanding and compassion that that's one of the challenges that their own customers are facing and trying to address with their channel partners, their solution providers. And so to the degree that the SaaS vendors can either provide case studies or information to channel partners on how their platform or their SaaS application has been successfully integrated into company operations with other applications, that's going to be a value add and a competitive advantage over others that may not be speaking to the channel and their customers about integration and how it's possible.
I completely agree with it, because data integration is a new line of business for most channel partners, right? And it's a new skill to acquire, whether they do it in-house or they are doing it, outsourcing it further. But we are seeing that at least those channel partners, the smaller type of channel partners, like 5, 10 different employee company, or even less than that, when they offer data integration, their average revenue per year increases anywhere from $125,000 to about $750,000, depending upon the size of business that they are. So there is an added revenue that comes into play, plus also the stickiness with the customer increases. And so I won't spend too much time on this slide, but what we also tried to understand was who is actually driving adoption of various IT solutions within an SMB organization. So, SaaS is one area that we have highlighted here, and we are finding that IT is not the sole SaaS buyer. In fact, 71% of the spend is outside of IT. And how you get 21%? There's business management, that is the line of business leaders is responsible for 54%, and 17% is shadow IT, which means, hey, it gets bought by somebody. It's not authorized by a formal budget that comes from either a line of business or IT. So 71% is outside of IT. So IT is not your target market all the time. It's the business leaders who are within these SMB organizations. The last couple of slides, I wanted to really touch upon the fact that how do you really find leads, right? Because generating leads for SaaS is always very tough, because there is always a conversation that, the SMBs really don't require channel partners here because they can go directly to the IT vendors. On the contrary, the SMBs are going directly to the vendor because of the fact that it is easier for them to find the vendor rather than a channel partner. But if they are able to find a channel partner that satisfies the need, it makes all the more sense. So what we have found that 65% of the channel partners are really using the customer as a reference point. Now, which is not bad in itself. There were days when word of mouth was the king. It's not there anymore, because the customer referral basically limits one to customer network, and then many of them are looking at the vendors. Now, if you look at the vendors, many of the SaaS vendors are small suppliers themselves. They are not Salesforce, they are not NetSuite, they are not SAP, they are not Dell, they are not HP. So they themselves are in a situation at time, how do I create an effective lead generation management? So when you have two different types of groups which are both trying to generate leads, then really relying on customers or vendors is not always the ideal thing. So distributors are becoming good. They are starting to provide leads. So there has to be some other way to really focus on the attention to use and generate leads. You have to see what your capabilities are and have a combination of different types of lead generation systems. And there are many who are using social media. Most of them are using to publish testimonials, promote events, and tell their existing customers what is new. But then how do you really get your new customers in place? So if you move to the next slide, we start to see what would be the really cost-effective, scalable approach to lead generation. It looks like a pretty complicated slide, but don't get hassled by it. Again, we look at three different groups of channel partners that are looking at lead generation within the SMB community, right? There are those who are on the one side very successful partners, on the other side those who are not unsuccessful. So what we find that while all three view referrals from customers as an effective means of driving new business, the perspectives really differ with respect to other lead sources. The sales reach advantage derived from partner-to-partner relationships is clear when we look at the data for the very successful in the cloud group. So partner-to-partner starts to become important area. So for example, 37% are as opposed who are very successful look at other partners, and 11% look at those that are unsuccessful. On the vendor side, which is the second red box or the first red box there, 68% of the just become successful are really looking at the vendors, and 49% of the very successful are also looking at the vendors. And that is because if you show that you are successful, the vendors also have a vested interest in start to invest in you. Now, what we're also seeing that the data shows clearly that the laggers, that means those who are not successful, are really at a loss to identify effective cloud generation techniques. The only area where this group really scores highest is in the use of the outbound sales force to generate leads, which is an approach that is very hard to scale and extremely expensive. So what you're saying is that look at this chart, look at where you are investing your resources, and say where do you actually belong at a very high level. You are successful or just become successful or what have you. What you can learn from the very successful ones, where do you really need to shift your resource.
Right. I think this is a great slide, and something you touched on here was something that we try to suggest to our SaaS Max vendors all the time, the SaaS providers, which is that when you're getting started in a reseller community or building your reseller program, to be able to provide initial leads or to have those resellers work with you on an existing customer will make a huge difference in their adoption, because it's oftentimes, just like anyone, it's basically human nature to, unless you have a reason to use something or do something, it's very hard to really learn a product in the way you fully need to learn and understand it and understand its true benefits and value. And so by taking the initiative as a SaaS vendor to give your potential resellers a lead and engage them and walk them through it and help them become successful, we've seen it make a very big difference to the reseller engagement that you will have and the success you will have with those resellers.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. So with that, Dina, I think we come to the last slide, which is kind of a recap. So what we have learned today, at least what I have tried to kind of project here, is that cloud is helping address top SMB business issues, and it is a means to really grow the business and enable really new capabilities. And it is growing, SaaS is growing rapidly. It is on its way to becoming the dominant software acquisition model for SMB. By 2015, an SMB will be using 13 different application categories, out of which 6 will be paid. And SaaS applications adoption is really driven towards revenue and cost optimization. And spread of SaaS is spreading to different functional areas, ideally adjacent areas. And as I mentioned, pace of SaaS adoption is really governed by points of pain that are both internal and external. And SMBs use any SaaS entry point and navigate to the solution next to it. So you have to find that fellow adjacent solutions, etc. Remember, IT is not the sole SaaS buyer. 71% is spent outside of IT. So we have to learn how to sell to the business. And data integration is really non-optional. So in many ways, the trends have created a perfect storm of opportunity for cloud computing. SMBs are focused on business growth, and they believe that cloud contributes to this growth. At the same time, IT, in some ways, is struggling with cost control, and cloud provides a clear means of reining in CapEx and opportunities for reducing the management costs as well. And SMBs are demanding support for new technologies and business capabilities such as mobility, BI, analytics, collaboration, and cloud provides a capable platform for them. So with this increased understanding of cloud's potential and importance, it is no wonder that we find really cloud, and especially SaaS, has established a pretty strong foothold within the SMB community, and it's poised for substantial growth. I think, Dina, that is all we had for today.
Excellent, excellent. Well, this was fabulous. I do have some other questions for you that were posed, and I will try to make them clear, because it looks like, okay, so from Clinton, he said, I am curious what inbound means. What activity was taken to entice the prospect to reach out? So I guess we're referring to the slide that is here in the most effective methods of lead generation.
Right. So inbound, what's happening, we are finding within the very successful channel partners is a combination of methods that create awareness, and that is through different types of social media campaigns which have been effectively taken by these companies and putting out newsletters, which we are still finding that the channel partners use very, very effectively. So at least if they put out the 1,000, they send a newsletter to 1,000 subscribers, they at least get about 10, 20 calls. Hey, here it is. Let me talk to you something about it. So it is not a one-off effort. It has to be a consistent effort. Do not expect to see the result that you send out one newsletter or have one social media campaign and automatically your phone starts to ring. It has to be sustained over a period of 4 months at a minimum before you start to kind of see the results. On the other hand, there are some channel partners who are still using some old-fashioned methods which are pretty effective for them by sending out catalogs. This is the type of service that we offer. You know, these are the new things that we can do for you. We understand what are your business pain points. So if you lead with those business pain points, there is a high incidence of your phone ringing.
Okay, great. One other question that was interesting that I'll try to elaborate on is when you are, and by the way, yes, we are recording this and we will make it available online for those of you who have asked for it, and thank you for being here on that front. So here's another question that would be interesting to know is, have you studied of the purchase, the time to purchase, and whether or not the purchasing habits of SMBs is more like a point of sale, buy it when they need it type of thing, or do they take the time to research and get feedback and do a bigger review of all the features and functionalities that they need in an application?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. So it depends upon the solution. The usual sales time is about 3 months or so for a typical channel partner or an IT vendor. But what we have found is that there are two very distinct groups of companies. One that have a pretty strong pain point, and they have absolutely cannot wait for the pain point to be solved. They are able to go ahead and make a purchase decision very, very quickly within a week or so. But most of the SMBs are saying that they have about 6 weeks to about a 3 months purchase decision making process. And that process is elaborated over like 9 different steps. And what they do is they identify the need, they do their own research, then they go out to an independent consultant, which would be their friends and family or somebody down the street or what have you, or a channel partner. They talk to them, get input, then they bring the research back inside. Then they evaluate it. Then they go back out and say, hey, okay, so we have narrowed it down, show us some demos, show us some pricing, how will it fit in, what will we have to do, what are the resources that are required from our side. Armed with that information, they bring it back in again. And once they bring it back in, at that point in time, some are lost or some go on to the next step. And they say, okay, so now we have decided, tell us which is the right solution to actually use. So we have a whole different, Dina, we could do a whole different webinar on this.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll schedule that for the future. It seems like there's a lot of interest around that side of things. So here's one more question, and I think then we'll wrap it up for today. The question is, are the most successful channel partners selling single applications or selling a bundle of SaaS applications to solve multiple business problems?
Yeah. So no, they're mostly selling best of breed applications. That means they have not focused their attention on just one application, because what happens in that case that they lose the customer very, very quickly. And that's because of the fact that customer starts to deal with another partner or another vendor and somebody else who has got a bigger mind share and a better mind share, or a top of the mind mind share. Then that SMB customer starts to gravitate towards that channel partner. So the very successful channel partner starts to look at a set of core offerings, whether they look at, say, I am in the business of helping my SMB customer automate its tasks or automate its business processes. And then based on that thinking, then they start to collate the different types of SaaS applications, and then they go after that particular SMB customer, with not the objective of selling all of the applications at the same time, but at least one at a time, at least in the sense that when the SMB is ready, they are there to offer it to them.
Right, and I would agree with that from a business side as well. For the resellers, the solution providers, to sell only one doesn't make as much sense, because the amount of time it takes to add another product to your line card that's synergistic or integrated with that first solution could be extremely profitable for you and exponentially increase your recurring revenues over time. So from a business model standpoint, it's smart to be staying fresh and relevant with your client base, always being able to bring them additional solutions. But also it's smart for your own business model as a channel partner to continue to add additional ones that will help build up your base of working capital through commissions.
Yep.
All right, great. Well, I think at this time we're going to wrap it up. I just wanted to state, for those of you who are resellers who have come to SaaS Next, we're going to do an introductory webinar next week for those of you who would like to know more about how we can help you to build your SaaS-based business and bring opportunities to you. And also, at the end of January, we're going to be doing a half-day virtual conference called Crossing the SaaSdom, and we're very excited about the program that we'll be posting in the weeks ahead. So just wanted to keep you abreast of that all. And of course, visit SaaS Next and check out a lot of the SaaS solutions that are coming on, because there are so many that are very, very interesting that could add to your line of business. So thank you again, Anurag. I really appreciate you taking the time to educate us. And for those of you, we will send you the posted online version of this. And please feel free to spread the word and share the information. And hopefully you'll be able to use it in your future planning for the year ahead. And for those of you who we don't have a chance to speak to again in the next few weeks, happy holidays. And hopefully this is going to be a great 2015 for everyone. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you again, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye, Anurag.
Thank you.